Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of my Road to $1 Million in Net Worth series where I'm attempting to reach a $1 million net worth by the time I'm 30 years old, and I'm also trying to reach a $30,000 per year passive income so that I may declare financial independence. I'm currently 24 years old, and every single month on the 1st I post a new update to the series showing you my progress or lack thereof. So if you like the sound of that, definitely subscribe so you don't miss any future updates. And I also put out a lot of other content about personal finance and investing. So if you like that sort of stuff, another reason to subscribe. This last month for me was really all about Big Law. I had a lot of tasks going on last week and things have really picked up, and I've got a lot of hours I got to put in for this job, and I'm certainly paid well for it, so don't get me wrong there, but it is very taxing at times, and this last month was no exception to that. I've been working full-time as a commercial real estate associate for 5 months now, so I'm starting to get a much better sense of kind of how things work, what's going on. I'm starting to actually build my skills as an attorney, and I'm getting more comfortable with things too, but I'm also bringing on more workload since I can handle more things now that I have some idea of what I'm doing. You don't really know what you're doing until you actually start getting into a workflow, and you could really say that about any job. I had a number of days this past month where I was billing over 10 hours in a day and a couple days over 12 hours. That's not a commonplace thing, but this last month was just particularly difficult because I had so many things going on, and you got to get through them because the clients have demands, and if you don't meet those client demands, they're going to find someone else who can meet them. And we're also starting to come into the office a lot more, which is a double-edged sword in that I have to devote some hours towards commuting, which is no good, but I have a little bit more of an ability to learn from the people who are there, the more experienced partners, the other associates, and actually learning about how to actually do certain things that maybe I haven't done before, or at least for those many tasks where I can take pointers from people who've done them so many times. But anyways, I don't want to make this whole video about Big Law, so if you're curious about my Big Law career, definitely check out some of my content that I've put out pretty recently on a day in the life of working as an attorney and just my general thoughts on working as a new associate at a big law firm. So if you're curious about that, definitely check it out. But otherwise, now that the basement flood that I covered over the last couple episodes is totally behind me, I'm still battling with insurance. I really doubt I'm going to get paid, but if I do, that's great. If not, then, well, we'll just move on, which is already kind of how I'm sort of thinking about it in my head, so I don't get super devastated if they decide to still not give it to me even after I appeal and try to argue my case that I should have been paid for the damage that was done by this quasi-flood, even though it was really because of a breakdown in my sewer pipe, which is where all the sump pump water was going. If you want to see that, definitely check out the previous episodes if you want to get caught up to speed a bit. But now that that money pit is behind me, I can get back on track towards my goals and actually putting the money towards things that I want to put them towards: investments, paying down debt, and making positive steps in my net worth. So with that said, I might as well get into the numbers. As a reminder, last month I had a net worth of $87,813.85, which was a pretty substantial decrease from the previous month. As always, let's start with the good stuff, the assets. Now, I've done a bit of accounting work here to change kind of how I'm allocating my cash here. So the cash originally had a lot of my reserves for my former primary residence and now my new primary residence. I've gone ahead and subtracted that from my cash balance, and I'm treating it as though the money is gone, but rest assured, I do still have reserves for my properties, but it does look like my cash balance is a lot lower than it was before. So this really is more of my investable cash, not so much the cash I have held in reserves for my properties. So my cash balance here really is lower than it is in actuality because I'm not counting the reserves, but now when an expense pops up with the property and I have to pay out of the reserve account, it's not going to look like it's affecting my net worth because it's almost like a prepaid expense in that sense. So that's why I've done that. And to sort of make up for that, I have bumped up the value of the Indianapolis property that we have, since it's really probably worth closer to $115,000, maybe even $120,000 on a great day. So I had it at $100,000 before. I've bumped it up to $105,000 in value if we were to liquidate it. And I guess you could say that would be the value after you pay some realtor fees and any transfer taxes or something like that. So we'll just call it 105 on paper. It's probably closer to 115 though, but I don't want to get too caught up in all the appreciation and my paper net worth. But basically a good chunk of the reserves that I deducted from my cash balance were kind of made up with this increase in the property, so it doesn't really do a whole lot to my net worth for the purpose of this exercise. Otherwise, I'm going to begin focusing on putting more money towards my stock account while I hunt for another real estate deal. That is really my main priority now, or at least once I get through some of these harder tasks that I still have going on with work. When I can focus a little bit more on trying to find a property, that would be my next move most likely. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'll keep adding to my stock portfolio, mainly my M1 Finance account, the one I cover every month on the channel on the 15th of the month if you want to check check that out. Another reason to subscribe if you're interested in that. And if you want to see my exact stock holdings, I do have a tab in the spreadsheet that I always include in the description below that shows all of my taxable and my tax advantaged holdings and shows you the exact allocations there. I also have a real estate tab in there if you want to see what my real estate holdings look like and the debt attached to them, the cash flow that those properties are bringing in, just kind of giving you a bigger picture of what's going on. I think transparency is very important if you're trying to provide value in any sort of finance discussion. Plus, it gives me a quick snapshot on really where the biggest risks are in my portfolio, as well as my tax exposure, at least on the tax advantage accounts, what's in a Roth, what isn't in a Roth. So it kind of gives me a good idea and a quick snapshot on kind of where I'm sitting. But otherwise, my cryptocurrency holdings, which are entirely Bitcoin and Ethereum at this point, have surged quite a bit over the last month since Bitcoin's well over $60,000 again. So that has added a bit to my net worth. Granted, it is still a very small position. I'm dollar cost averaging into that with just a little bit of money every single month. So we'll see what happens there. But in total, that leaves me with $722,020.33 in assets. And now onto liabilities. Last month, I did pay off the remainder of the margin that we had outstanding that I had used to buy my primary residence or used to finance much of the down payment. So that is totally paid off. And now it's focusing on paying down the HELOC right now, since that is variable rate interest and it's revolving. So I could always take that money back out, but I'll put a little bit of money towards that each month. Thanks to the basement flood, I think at one point this balance had gotten to around $71,000. So we're back under $70,000 and I'd want to keep putting some money towards that because again, we can take that money back out. And I don't want to pay off these student loans any quicker than we have to yet because it's an interest rate freeze right now. Thank you, federal government, for giving us some extra welfare. In that, basically, this is an interest-free loan from the government for some time being. They keep kicking the can because the government loves to do that. When interest payments resume again, we'll reweigh our decision on where we're going to be putting money when it comes to paying down debt and also investing, because right now, a lot of these loans are at about 6% interest, or at least they will be when interest payments continue. I'd probably look to refinance potentially if we don't just aggressively pay these down once my wife graduates her school and starts working. And then we'll probably have almost all of her salary go towards this first, just because it's a lot of risk added into our overall financial picture. But otherwise, not much has really changed with our debts. So that leaves us with $624,079.42 in liabilities, which means our net worth has grown to $97,940.91, which is an increase of over $10,000 for the month. Our debt ratio has decreased to 86.44%, and our passive income remains at $950 per month. So overall, it was a very strong month, especially considering the last 2 months that have been pretty lackluster thanks to the basement flood and all the expenses that came with that, having to come out of pocket for that. That was very annoying. Well, we got back on track this month, and overall, we're making large positive steps again towards our net worth goals. But as for what's next, like I mentioned, I'm definitely focusing on putting a lot more money towards my stock accounts again and building up that portfolio, because I can always re-leverage those stocks too by using a margin loan like I did for my primary residence for the short term. I got to be very careful with that, of course, because I don't want to expose myself to a margin call potentially if we have a flash crash in stocks or even a longer term crash, since if your stocks fall in value and you have margin outstanding and it gets too close to that margin value, you might be triggered to sell your stocks in order to pay off the margin, and then you're forced to sell at probably rock bottom lows, which is no good. But I do want to have a lot of that cash invested because there are a lot of opportunities that I'd be interested in beyond just holding something in cash, knowing that I could re-leverage those stocks if I need to, or even sell off those stocks if I want to put it into something else like a real estate deal. The market is pretty tight right now, and it is kind of hard to find deals, especially given the fact that I now have quite a bit less time than I might have had some months ago because of how work has been. So I really have to buckle down and make sure that I'm very careful with where I'm investing. But in the meantime, I'll keep putting it towards my stock accounts. If I come across a real estate deal I really like, then I'm going to commit towards that. But otherwise, I'm really happy to be back on the path of progress. So we'll see what happens over this next month. Anyways, if you like this video, please like it, since that would help the channel out a lot. And if you want to see future updates about this net worth series, definitely subscribe, since I put out a new episode on the first of every single month. And as I mentioned earlier, I have my spreadsheet down in the description below if you want to see all of my detailed holdings in real time, or at least it's updated on a monthly basis. And while you're in the description, check out those affiliate links to help out the channel. But until next time, take care.